Welcome to this general lecture to deliver the important thing of literary criticism. I think that's all for this morning. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much to our Satu, Dr. Julceratu. Now we will be hearing the public lecture by Professor Dr. Novita Dewi, MS, MA, Hons, PhD. And with that, I will be handing it over to Mem Dewi Krista Kobis, SPD Umum, who will be our moderator for the day. And to Mem Dewi, the screen is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry there was a little bit trouble with my microphone a while ago. I am really happy to have you all today at this public lecture, and I am personally grateful to our Vice Dean for Academic Affairs, Mrs. Julceratu. Thank you so much, Dr. Julce, and also personally for our keynote speaker, Professor Novita Dewi. Before we start, I'm going to inform you a little bit, just a little bit about our keynote speaker. Let me share some of my PowerPoints. As you can see on the screens, our keynote speaker today is Professor Dr. Novita Dewi, MS, MA, Hons, PhD. It would not be exaggerating if I said that I am kind of Davina, have you seen my screen? It will not be exaggerating if I said that I'm kind of proud to read her CV. I'm so sorry if there is some misperception about if the PPT cannot work well. So Professor Novita Dewi is a female professor from Sanata Dharma University. She's the first female professor, and I personally, as a woman, think that it is kind of an achievement since this is kind of women empowerment. And she also graduated from Sanata Dharma University. She obtained her bachelor degree there, and then she graduated from University of South New Wales, and she obtained her PhD from National University of Singapore, and she has so many publications, and so far she has been cited by around 380 publishers or researchers, so she has been quite quoted a lot by other researchers. And then she also obtained the degree of outstanding lecturer by the Dictee for the Copertis 5. So we can say that she is kind of example to us, the model for us, karena dia mendapatkan outstanding lecturer atau dosen berprestasi di kawasan Copertis 5. So this is a little bit for me. And I hope you will enjoy Professor Novita Dewi's lecture for today.
Okay, Ibu, is it now my turn?
Yeah.
Good morning to you all, and I'm so excited this morning. And thank you for the opening by Pak Hasan Basri. That today's lecture is actually for the contribution of science and humanities. That I think this is the nice word to say, and I hope that we can really contribute something. And thank you also for the Vice Dean, Ibu Julceratu, for opening the session. I wish I can be here in Manado and talk to you all rather than virtually like this. It's not intimate. And I shall thank Ibu Dewi Kristakobis for getting the event going very well. And today we are going to have around, how much time do I have, Ibu?
You can have around 15 minutes to present your presentations,
Oh, okay.
and we will go with a question and answer section after that, probably 15 to 20 minutes for the latest.
Okay, all right then. So I think we are going to start with something quite simple. As you can see from the title here, is the joy of reading. So nothing difficult, but I do hope that from this public lecture, the joy of reading will spread. Because reading should not be seen as a burden for all of us, but it has to be something enjoyable. So let us have a look. So this is my agenda. I will divide my talk into 4. I will kick off with the reason why we read and what kind of reading is involved when we are dealing with literary works. This is not something new, but I will start with that. Then I will go on with my argument why we need literary criticism, why bother, when, how can we be joyful if we have to be burdened by a lot of theories and criticism that will only confuse us. But we will see here that literary criticism will help you navigate what you are reading. Then I will go on with the wealth of American literature. And I believe that students from Samratulangi universities are quite familiar with literary works from America and also from probably British literature, Australian and post-colonial literature especially, and now even Asian writings. So we will talk a little bit about that, what usually students like to do when doing American literature. And finally, I will conclude with some tips for you to really have a joyous reading. So I will start firstly with the reason why we read. Of course, reading is not only a pastime activity, but you have to know the reason why you read. There are basically 4 types of reading: informative, interpretative, critical, and creative. When I ask my students, for instance, why you are reading, many of them said, ma'am, we are reading because we are going to know how to answer your question and in the exam. And I thought that is not a very good reason to read. You are reading because you want to find something, because you want to enrich yourself, not simply answering the question for your exam. But of course, you have to have some levels, When you read, you have levels of reading. Informative reading is really a good start for you. So for instance, I give you a short story from America, say Ernest Hemingway, Indian Camp, a very simple short story. When I give you that short story, informative reading will direct you to whatever is said in the text. You would like to know the character, the plot, and where the story is set. And that is about all. You just want to know the elements of the work. But when you come to the interpretative reading, you go a bit higher for that. You would like to know whether the story has some relation to our life. In what way the story touch on your feeling, for instance. So remember this story, Ernest Hemingway's story is quite famous. It's a story of the development of a young boy named Nick Adams. He is the son of a doctor, and on one fine day, he witnesses a very sad event where the doctor, his father, helps an Indian woman giving labor, and because it's far away from the city, he has to do the operation. He had to do the operation using jackknife, and of course the woman in labor screamed out loud, and so loud that even the husband couldn't bear, and he killed himself. So you see, it's a bit strong and a bit creepy story to tell, yeah. And interpretative reading will go beyond that. You just don't want to see that the story is simply about a young boy witnessing something sad in front of him, but there is more to it than that. Then you do some interpretation, probably it tells us more about the story. Therefore, you need to have some perspectives. And one of the way to see the story deeper is when you use your critical eyes. Yeah, you know what it says, what it does, and what it means. If you see the Indian camp, whereby you see a lot of social problem is there. Yeah, they live in a very needy condition, and therefore you see here some kind of racist story is there, yeah, whereby the white doctor and you have the colored people in, and so there is some racism here in the story. That is when you use your critical eye. But if you use the next step of reading, that is the creative reading, that is where you can provide an alternative ending. Probably the main character, Nick Adams, will give a nice turn, a nice twist for the story by having Nick Adams, for instance, saying, "Stop, not to use jackknife to cut open the stomach of the woman to give labor," probably. So you provide an alternative ending. But before you do so, you have to know the story deeply. Yeah. So you can see here, from knowing what the story is about and how you would like to make meaning out of the story, interpretative reading, you would like to question why the story is set like that. You can see that some autobiographical information about Ernest Hemingway, the writer, will help you to give some critical reading. Hemingway himself was a very panic-stricken person, so the biographer said. And it happened that he was in New York when his wife in Toronto giving labor to their first son. Therefore, probably that kind of real situation influenced him to write such a story. For that, you need to use critical reading. You cannot just see it on the page, because this is something that you have to go beyond. Yeah, you have to find some material, some supporting data in order to interpret that story. And because you know all these things, you can go to creative writing, creative reading, or creative writing. But you don't bother about reading level 4. If you can do 1, 2, 3, it's fine already. Yeah, no worries about creative writing, unless you would like to pursue your career as a writer, which you will, of course, which you will. This is where you want to go further from your reading. That is Toni Morrison. She is an American writer. She said that if you are not quite happy with what you read, you then write yourself. You would like to add more to what you're reading. So that is what she says. If there is a book that you want to read, but somehow you are not happy reading that book, the time is now for you to rewrite. And here you see, you can only do this one after you pass all the levels of reading proficiency. Okay, Abu Dewi, if ever the students would like to ask questions, go ahead, yeah, so that I can go run, because I will be very boring if I have to speak for 15 minutes. Okay, now if you have no question, I will proceed to literary criticism. Why actually you need to bother about this one? in literary criticism, you will be introduced to some perspectives, yeah, the way people read, what kind of glasses, what kind of lenses you are using to read the story. And you don't need to remember all, but at least you need to know some. Yeah, you need to know some, because there are reasons why you really need to use literary criticism. The world is quite complex, yeah, and the complexity of the world requires you to read, requires you to know a lot of things, and interpreting the world so simply will result in shallowness. Therefore, literary criticism will give you sort of a guide, yeah, to guide you through. And you see here that when you use literary criticism, you don't only help yourself, but you also help the author. The author will reflect, yeah. The author would like to probably, as I said, there is a step where you call rewriting, yeah. The author will probably get more information from all of you, yeah. Because you interpret his or her story that way, or the other way, yeah, or the third way. And that will help the author to do some reflection, and probably later on when he or she writes, your suggestion will be taken into consideration. So here you see, you don't only have yourself, you also have the reader. And in this way, the quality of the text will be improved. So again, literary criticism is important because it will get you, it will guide your reading, and you know what you are looking for. And if you would like to read more, the use of literary criticism is helpful, because one single story can be read through different perspectives. And that way the text itself become richer, yeah. One of the critics says that literary criticism is like a diamond, yeah. The more cuts, yeah, the more perspectives you put into it, the more shiny it becomes. So I think that is true. But again, you don't have to know everything. Just make sure that you get the hang of this, of some of this, yeah. Very often, new criticism is used to read American literature. Of course, there are many more, but this one is the simplest one. I can say that this is more, that is swinging between informative and interpretive reading when you use criticism, because you only look at the formal elements of the text. And the more intimate one probably is the historiography, whereby you would like to demonstrate that in some reasons, and for some reasons, the author and the text are connected to each other. So you can use that. But now that the world is evolving and civil rights movement, women rights movements are there, thank you for Bu Dewi, yeah, to notice that, well, women empowerment is the talk of the town now. I think the use of the use of feminist theory will be useful. You will see if the voice of women is absent in a text. In the case of the Indian woman I talked about earlier, you see here the story only look at, there are three men there, yeah, the doctor, and Nick Adam, the son of the doctor, and the husband of the woman. And you see here, all throughout the story, the woman is silent. Yeah, she can't say anything. When the doctor cuts open her stomach, nothing is out of her mouth. Yeah. So here you see there is silence in that story, and you see here the one who is concerned is Nick Adam, a man, not a woman. So you see here that feminist theory will allow you to see whether the text address men and women equally or not, for instance. You can also use psychoanalysis to read the same story, like Adam's story. Why is it that such a young man has to experience growing pain like that to see something awful in this world. And this one is also more and more popular this day, post-colonial theory, although when you talk about post-colonial American literature, it's rather awkward, but there are ways to talk about that. What kind of colonialism when you talk about American literature, that can be pursued as well. And now I think that is more and more popular is the use of eco-criticism to see how American literature address people's treatment toward nature and vice versa. Yeah. So here are some of the theory you can use, but the most important thing is not to use the jargon of the theory, but how important the theory when you are using to answer your question. What is really your question? What do you want to ask by reading such stories? And literary criticism will help you with that. Therefore, don't force yourself. It is not literary theory for reading, but literary theory to answer your question, actually. Now, here, Yang Chun offer an article about how many scholars, many critics usually use the sort of part and parcel, a set text whereby you have a text and this is the correct quote unquote literary criticism you are using. For instance, when you read the John Steinbeck stories here, you use feminist criticism. Or if you are familiar with the Romantic period of American literature, Nathaniel Hawthorne, like Young Goodman Brown, and the most suitable, the most suitable one is you use psychoanalytic criticism. That is because you talk about the internal problem experienced by the character in Nathaniel Hawthorne, how they are split actually spiritually and also physically. Therefore, psychoanalytic criticism is said to be the most fitting. But there are many ways, if you are familiar with William Faulkner's work, he is a Southern writer, and he mostly talk about the life in the southern part of United States. And reader response and reception theory will be useful, whereby you read the story and you ask yourself, what is it? What is your opinion about Emily, about the society where she lived, about the way people in town treat her? And if you were in her position, what you will be doing? And if you are townspeople, will you treat Emily nastily like that, or you will choose to treat her better? So you use reader response. And new historical or cultural criticism is useful to read Heart of Darkness here. Or if you are interested more in the way the story is set, like male and female, or rich and poor, east and west, or the structure, or the formalist arrangement of the story, of the text, then probably the is a good text,
berjumlah 20 mahasiswa.
And you also
laki-laki itu berjumlah
other criticism to
8.
the story. So it doesn't have to be like
perempuannya berjumlah 12.
By Yang Chun.
Selanjutnya ada 2 teman kami yang kemudian hari ini
Okay, am I right? Yeah, all right. Now, please ask questions then. Ask me questions so that I can really continue happily. If you have any questions, by all means, raise your hand.
So students, before the keynote speaker continues, probably do you have any questions? Probably you are lost, you don't know about the directions about this presentation or anything, you can ask her. Started from the type of literature, whether it's informative or critical, how could you do that? Yeah, and something like that, and how to choose, like, let's say, how to differentiate whether feminism or psychoanalysis will be suitable for the literary work that you are going to choose or something like that. You can ask her or whatever. And if you are burdened to use English, you can also ask Professor Novita by using Bahasa. Is it okay for us? You
Yes,
do not need to be shy or something like that, because all of us are always in the process of learning. Even me,
correct.
even Professor Novita are still in the process of learning. So please do
Correct.
not be afraid. Do not be shy. You can ask anything at this moment. Yeah, by using any language, whether it's Bahasa or English.
Yeah, thank you, Bu Devi, for giving some encouragement to the students. I know that students are having burning questions, but they just don't want to start asking right now. It's okay then. I will continue. I will go on then, yeah. But anytime you want to ask question, by all means, raise your hand, and Bu Devi will help me to identify, yeah. Let's just go to American literature. As you can see, you can always see the intersection or intimate relationship between history and literature in America. Sometimes when you talk about American history, you also talk about the American literature and vice versa. Let's see. Yeah, here are some topics that you can select first. So before you pick up your book, so you can start actually look at American literature by history wise. For instance, you look at the way history connects to American literature, and there are and it's good that all anthology of American literature provides the contour, the journey, the timeline, of American history, starting from the colonial period up to post-war times. Therefore, it's easy. And the choice of your topic will also determine the type of literary criticism you will be using. And this one quite helpful, to know the period or the timeline in the history. It make it easier for you. Or you can also look at the variety of ethnic writing, because you have the Asian American, even Asian American can be Indonesian American, Filipino American, that they also write more and more. When I was studying back then, maybe 20 years ago, we hardly know any Asian writer except for some Chinese American writer. But now you can see many writers coming from the Asian region also writes in English, and many of the works become American literature already. So you can go to this richness of American literature, Afro-American, Chicana literature, Arab American literature, there are many. Or you would like to go to a specific topic like dystopian literary work, or you would like to see how it is connected to media or popular culture, that can be done also. Probably would like to read The Hunger Games, for instance, and you can fit in, but the choice of your topic will help you determine the literary criticism that you will be using. Once again, it is not to burden you, but to help you to answer your question. What is the problem that you want to know by reading the story? You can also go for the theme. Going for the theme is also easy. That is, you can navigate, you can navigate your reading by looking at the theme first. The theme, the American dream, is the most often theme in American literary work, be they in stories, in poems, or in novels. And also this one, coming of age, that is from innocent to experience, like Nick Adams in story that I quote earlier on, where Nick Adams, the one who is so plain, because he is only young, until he knows that, look, there are a lot of ugliness in this world where people are judged because of their race, for instance. His father, his white father, doesn't treat his colored patient nicely. And that is something that he has never heard of before, because at home probably Nick saw his father is a very kind and loving father, but now you can see when it comes to inter-race, since he comes to know, like Adam comes to know that the world is ugly, for instance. Or you talk about Gilded Age, the time in America where commercialism, consumerism is rising, and people ignore each other. So they don't trust Almighty God, but they trust Almighty dollar. Yeah, this is the beginning of course, capitalism, for instance. Or you can also look for the theme of alienation, how people, if he or she is rich and wealthy and having a good position, that person is somehow separated, somehow is alienated from the loved one. She cannot be heartwarming to her own parents, her own siblings, because each one of them are very busy. And that is what the society is all about, treating an individual so cruelly, yeah, by not talking to her, by not treating her better, yeah. So you see a theme of alienation is very common. Or someone who is not quite fitting in the society, probably she's different, maybe in terms of physical look, or in terms of ideas, or in terms of choice, yeah, sexual choice, for instance. And because the society does not conform with that choice, she or he is alienated, for instance. A theme of alienation is quite common, yeah. And identity is also a very common theme you can find in American literature. And if you go by that theme, you can also find the literary criticism that will best suit your answer. So for instance, you talked about treatment of nature, for instance. Then of course, eco-criticism will be the right theme, the right lens, the right tool, yeah, to read the work. Or you can go for the generic text, yeah. By generic text, I mean you go for a group of texts that can also an alternative, a way to read text is to go what is really general, the commonality found in that kind of text of the same genre. So you can read, for instance, Civil War poems shown in Point by Walt Whitman, or the female writer Emily Dickinson. These are all talking about war. That war is always making us suffer. Yeah? It's horror and useless. You can read it. Civil War poems. Many times talking about Civil War. By Civil War, I mean it can happen during before the pre-independence or even after. Yeah. All poems that talk about war and talk about conflict or contestation. Or that is also quite typical of American literature. You talk about the Great Depression novels, yeah. There are many beautiful and inspiring Great Depression novel, and The Grapes of Wrath will be one of them. And also Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men. You can see here, when you use the Great Depression novels, I think you can simply use historical biographical approach to read the work, or you can even use, but And also psychological psychoanalysis approach can be, but it doesn't close the possibility for you to also read the Great Depression novel by eco-critical lens. Yeah, that is possible. You see here the dust bowl in the story, for instance, is resulted from the way nature isn't treated nicely. Yeah, for instance, so you can always use any theory to read a literary work. Although there are several texts that are most fitting, most illuminating when read through a particular lens. Yeah. Okay, let us see the very simple one about Edgar Allan Poe. I'm sure that each students of English department read this story, any of his short stories. There are many, and you can see how close the connections are, the life of the author and also his works. For instance, I start with the Mask of the Red Death. Yeah? There is a story about this the spread of a red disease spread in one village, and people were so afraid they try to avoid contacting each other because of their fear to get contracted by the disease. And here you have one Prince Prospero, living in a castle, and he invite his friends to have a party in that castle in order to avoid that disease. But when death comes, it comes, yeah, death coming along, and he too get killed by the disease. So you can see here the story actually reminds of the real story that is happening in Poe's lifetime. That is the cholera epidemic in Baltimore back in 1832. So you can see here, he himself, the author, experienced that epidemic. Therefore, it inspires him to write the Mask of the Red Death. And you see also another story, the Curse of Amontillado, where you have two jesters dressing up like a clown, going through the catacomb and start talking nonsense, and finally, finally they kill each. They actually get some animosity among them, and this catacomb, you know, the burial place, yeah, has poisonous substance, yeah. So a heavy drinker will surely meet his death going through that tunnel. And you can see here there is similarity to the life of Poe. Poe is inspired by a bastion in Boston, where actually the bastion was built out of the consent, yeah, of the worker. It's like slavery, in fact, yeah. And there are a lot of victims. People died, and it is said that one soldier is dead and buried within the during the development, during the establishment of that wall, yeah. And that, whether it is true or not, we do not know, but rumor said like that, and that inspires Poe to write the Curse of Amontillado. And there are many more like that. I have two more examples here, like this one. The spring is the same as actually the time is about the same as the Mask of the Red Death, yeah, where the epidemic spread and people afraid of that try to run away of it, yeah. And here the character is very very anxious, yeah. The neurotic character is in fact the same as his own, Poe's own anxiety. He doesn't have a good job. He cannot rely on writing. And he has a hobby that is drinking. Therefore, he himself is insecure. And that one is projected into the character of this short story, The Spring. And again, the black cat, I'm sure that you have read this story. The black cat is also about neurotic habit of the writer. The writer was so obsessed by killing someone whose eye make him offended. And here the black cat continued to haunt him. And you can see here the haunting experience is no different, not far away from Poe's own unhappiness to see the wife dying. Yeah, the death of his wife influenced her, and that is again shown through the story, The Black Cat. So you can use biographical data, yeah, to trace the reason why the author wrote the pieces. Yeah, you can use biography, and that is the most simpler, I think. Some people dislike biographical approach because it looks like you sort of belittle the work. You don't see the aesthetic of the work because you try to find similarity, comparing and contrasting. But I think knowing the biography of the author will help you to understand the story better. I'll move on to that later on. Yeah, and I'll give you one more example, and I will quit after this one. Yeah, here is a story about a transfer student. The student is transferring from Earth to the planet Venus, and of course, there in Venus, every day is rain, and sun appears only seven years, once every 7 years. And Margot, the transfer students, are already 9 years old, and he is transferring there when he was 7 years old. Therefore, she can still remember seeing the sun. Unlike the students in Venus, the Venusian student was 2 years old when the sun appeared for the first time in their life. Therefore, when now they are 7 years, they can't remember. Because of this, the students in Venus envy Margaret, who can remember the sun, write a poem about the sun, even drawing the sun, yeah, how the sun looks like. And it is predicted that one day, that is the time when the sun is going to show up, right? And Margaret was locked in a room until the sun is set, until the rain comes. When the sun does appear, the students who haven't seen or who haven't remembered seeing the sun before play around. They are enjoying the sun, yeah, playing, going about and running about, and they totally forget about Margot, who is locked inside. And when the rain comes, you remember, oh, I belong like Margot. Let's get her out, only to find that the sun is no longer there. The sun disappears. So you see here, what kind of story? This is dystopian. What kind of nonsense it is? No, it's not a nonsense, because the story has a context. It was written when there is a rivalry between the United States and Soviet Union. But you can fit in the story with the Russo-Ukrainian war right now. Yeah, how people actually compete with each other. So here you can see competition among those who do not see the sun, and Margot, who remembers seeing the sun. Therefore, you have this issue. Yeah, I noticed that Sandra Lauto raised hand. Sandra, you would like to ask question?
Yes, Professor.
Yes,
Can everyone in this? Okay, can everyone hear my voice clearly?
Not so. Maybe if I can see you, I can.
Oh, hello, operator. Can you make Tendra as the spotlight? Can you make him into the spotlight?
Maybe I can read the lips.
Yeah, so Professor can see him.
Oh, if Tendra can speak clearly, it's okay. Yeah, you can show up later. You can show your face up later. Yeah, speak clearly, Tendra, so that I can hear.
Probably now you can see him, Professor. We already made him into the spotlight. Hello, Trenda, can you speak now?
Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, did my voice is loud and
Yeah.
clear?
Yeah, it's kind of clear for me. What about the keynote speaker? Can you hear him clearly, Professor?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, I just want to say thank you, Professor, for coming to our faculty and
You're
giving our general
welcome.
lecturing today about literary. I have two questions about it. First, why we always take a look for the American literature, since we already know about all the philosophers, the great philosophers came in Europe. Why we not go and look to Europe as the big image of it? And the second is, I already saw to Ma'am Devi about my literary work, my biology work. I'm really curious about to see about family relation in a literary work. So I want to use Benhart theories, but I still confused about to choose some literary work. Maybe you can give me some advice about it. So I think that's all, Professor. Thank you so much,
The
Professor.
second one, Tendra, I can get it quite clearly. The second one, you are interested in looking at family relationship.
Yeah, I'm like I want to use psychology theory in looking for the right book as my literary work, and I already decided I want to choose to using Benhart theory, but until today I cannot find any book to become my object.
What theory again? Say it again.
Benhart theory.
I think
Professor?
yes.
Yeah, probably Tendra's connection is not quite stable. If you allow me, I'm going to rephrase these questions.
Yes, please. Yeah, only the second one.
Here, our lovely student, Trenda Lautong, he has two questions. The first one, he is wondering, he wants to know why most of the published researches, especially us as the literary experts, we tend to find everything about American literature. Why it's not focused more on the Europe? Why it should be but why the majority of the researchers they tend to look for the American literature rather than the Europeans. This is his first questions. And the second questions, this is kind of personal because he already saw you provided every example about some particular well-known literary criticism, but he personally is curious about a specific theory about family relationship. So he is really curious about that area, and he also wants to study about specific novel, which is about family relationship, probably how the parents raise their children and something like that. And he is wondering if you can suggest him write or specific theory about his research interests. So that's his second question. So
okay, all right, Tendra, thank you very much for the question. I'm so glad that you listened from the beginning till the mid. Yes, why American literature? It's all about hegemony. We talk about curriculum wise. Almost in all English department, you have American literature is one of the curriculum. When Abu Dewi studied in Sanata Dharma, you have British and American literature, but most of the time we also discuss stories from Asian region also, remember. So here I think firstly, it's about hegemony, and this American hegemony is still strong in the academia. And I think now they have a competitor already. Now you have post-colonial literature, and Asian literature alongside with American literature. And also perhaps because of this availability of texts, yeah, and the American literary texts are quite easy, yeah, quite easy to find. That's probably the reason. In fact, for Asian region, I'm happy if we can study Asian literature in English, but very often it is in translated version. For instance, there are a lot of Indonesian literature, beautiful Indonesian literature, but they are not available in English. And if it is pursued in the English department, you have to get it translated. And American literature is no fuss. Yeah, you can have it ready for to use in English department. So that is probably the reason. And yes, when we talk about novels, we talk about European countries, right? The theory, the art of the novel is quite English. It sounds, yeah. But I think more and also I think because of the movie industry, a lot of movies are based on American literature, although there are many, yeah. Shakespeare's, for instance, they are made into film, and many European, many English literature are made into movie. That also probably can be a competitor of American literature. By the way, Tendra, the novel that you are working on, is it American literature or not? If it is, then that's fine. If it is not, then it's fine also. Then you find an alternative. And about family relation, in fact, that is the theme, right? You only need to compose, you only need to write up your research question. When your research question is clear, any theory will help you. So for instance, if you talk about family relationship, you talk about relationship between mother and son. It doesn't have to be psychoanalytical theory. It doesn't have to be like that. But what kind of relationship? Whether the life of the author affects something about that kind of relationship. So it all depends on what kind of question. You can even use, for instance, structuralist or post-structuralist. If you usually have the relation parents and children relationship, like very patronizing, you can use post-structuralism, for instance, to debunk that myth. To challenge that myth. Here you can see children who can actually inform parents about good things to do rather than the opposite. So it depends on the question, Tendra. If you know the research question already, it is easy to map out what particular literary criticism you need to use. You can also use the combination. In fact, yeah. I hope Tendra will be satisfied. Yeah. Okay, like this one. I can see here family relation, Tendra, in this story. You can see here how Margot's parents, who moved from Earth, doesn't think about the well-being of their daughter, for instance. They let Margot suffer in class, for instance. You see family relation here. And if you use feminist theory, it is also possible in this story. Here, Margot, the female student, is ostracized, yeah, is alienated, female student. And Will is the female friend, female classmate who continue bullying on her, for instance. And you see here another character, that is the teacher. The teacher is a female one, but the teacher doesn't do anything to stop the students from bullying her. So feminist theory allows you to see the imbalance in the representation of women in the text, for instance. You can use that. And eco-criticism, that is also possible. Why is it that people move out to Venus? And you see here in Venus, nothing is better, and Venus is never better than Earth. But why we continue destroying our Earth? Yeah, from the story we can reflect on the way we treat Earth. We have to treat Earth nicely, because living outside the Earth isn't good. Yeah, there is no planet B. Earth is our planet. Okay. Now I think I nearly close my talk, and it's good that Tendra raised question because this is actually the point. So where do we go from here? Tendra is writing his thesis, yeah, and everyone here is also interested to know. So so what after knowing literary criticism and how to use it? I think I can give you some simple trick. Firstly, you don't need to worry about literary criticism. It is there to help you to navigate your reading, to direct your reading. All you need to do is actually look at this one, a very simple, easy reading as an ABC. I wrote an article about it. I can share the article later. This is how you need to do. A is for aims. You need to know what is the book about? Is it a book? Then you go for the theme and the generic group of text, yeah, so that you know precisely whether it is children book or it is a dystopian novel or it is a detective short stories. You know it. You know what the text is. So this is the aim, yeah, and usually a book has an aim. Who is the target reader? Who is actually targeted? Who will be the most readers of the book? That is important, so that you can, before you choose a book, you should know what is the purpose of the existence of the book. And you go to to B. This is a basic question. You go for the informative reading of the book. Yeah, you go to informative, not yet an interpretive one. You go in between informative and interpretive reading of the book. You know first what is the book about. You know the plot structure. You know where climax occurs. You know the character. You know the setting. All the elements, all the elements of fiction in the book. You go to the basic. If you don't know the basic, it will be very difficult for you to use literary theory. Literary theory will only burden you if you don't know the story at all. So you should know the story so deeply. Yeah? You have to have some deep understanding of the story. When you know the story, you can do almost everything to it. Yeah. And you go to C, that is the context. The context will help you. Tendra is interested in family relationship. So he must have seen that the depiction of a family affair, a family situation in that story. And Tendra can relate that. What is it? Is it because parenting style today isn't good when compared to many years ago, where parents are really very patronizing, or we have to find more ways to deal with children, for instance. A lot of the time, yeah, lecturers are students and students are teachers. Most of the time I ask my students what to do, especially when it comes to running the computer. My students know much more than I do. So here you see the traffic is going both ways now, not from teacher to students, but more students are informing, very much like flip learning. Yeah. So you see here, you see that what is the context. Therefore, if you know the ABC, it's really easy to find the right literary criticism. And sometimes you can raise simple question. For instance, in terms of family relationship, in what way parent-children relationship is depicted in a story? Why? And you will pursue the context, and you probably would like to know the history where the text is written. What does the text try to reflect on? What actually the background of the text? Then you can use the correct theory for your reading. So once again, enjoy your reading. Don't be burdened by literary theory. Literary theory will help you to see the story in a more illuminating way. The story will be not about what the story means now, but what the story means to you, what the story means to me. So that is the aim, actually. If that happens, you can only find joy in reading. Yeah. All right then, so happy reading. Don't be discouraged about the possible usage of so many theories that come along, but please make sure that you know the ABC first, especially the B. Yeah? You know the basic, and you will know what to do next in order to reach interpretive and critical reading. Yeah, you go up to the third stage of the reading, and if you are quite interested, you can go further to the fourth step, that is the creative reading. All right, Ibu Dewi, I think I shall stop for now. I would expect questions and comments. Thank you. Ibu? Or anyone would like to ask question, by all means, raise your hand.
Sorry, Professor, a while ago, because there were some participants who have not unmuted their microphones. So we tried to mute everyone.
Okay, all right.
So it took me a while to reopen my microphone.
That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah,
That's okay.
yeah.
I'm done. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the materials. We are really happy to help you today. And also thank you for Tendra. I'm going to re-ask Tendra. What about your opinion, Tendra? Are you satisfied enough, or you still have something in your mind? So let me rephrase the things that Professor Novita said to you, to Tendra. This is kind of summary, but so you see why most of the researchers, why most of the publications, and even the curriculum, they mostly use American literature. The first, or we can say the main problem, not problem, but let me say it's issue. It's because the affability of the text. As we know that most of the literatures, whether it's Asians or probably some part of European countries, for example, the Germans and also the France, they need to translate everything into English. As we know, we come from the English literature, as we have to research about anything, the scripts based on the English language. So that's why most of the researchers, most of the publishers, most of the experts, they use American as, let me say, as their favoritism, or in Indonesia, you can say it as kiblat. They focus more on the American literature. But as Prof. Novita Dewi said, that beside Americans, because it's mostly on the curriculum, on the syllabus, American also has like powerful competitor. Besides British and Germans and France, they were trying like to conquer this kind of literary expertise. And for your, if you are looking for the family relationship or parenthood, you can find something. And if Professor Novita also don't mind, probably I can share your contact to Tendra. Tendra is kind of, let me say, he is not only ambitious, but he is really talented in literature. And I hope you can guide him as well to be as good as you. We know that I also personally know that.
Sure.
And also Tendra, he really wants to study abroad, because I always encourage my students, if you can, why you are able to go abroad, to study abroad, having scholarships and something like that.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, and I think Tandra, I know that it's good that you start to think about it for now before it's too late. Yeah, you should have your you have to hitch your wagon to a star. Yeah, this is again American quote. Yeah, you hitch your wagon to a star. Yes, Tandra, I wish you all the best then.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, ma'am.
What about the others? The other students, if you have any questions, do not mind to raise your hand virtually. Raise your hand virtually. And we are going to make you as the spotlight. And also you can type your question on the chat room as well. It seems like Stephen Samosir, do you have any questions?
Well, ma'am, I was trying to think of a question. Yeah, maybe I will tell it later, ma'am.
Oh, okay. What about the senior students, those who belong to 7th semester and also the 5th semester? You can also raise your hand to ask some questions. And especially if you are preparing for your proposals, you can also ask Professor Novi. Probably Devina, you want to ask something? Okay, Professor, if you do not mind, I want to ask you something related to the students.
Sure, yeah.
So these days, students, they want to like study literature, but they prefer to use like games and soundtracks for the, like say, music. But as we know, our department is not pop culture department, but this is English department. We focus more on the Pacific Rim, all of the literature objects and works that is consist in English language. So do you think why this phenomenon happens, and how could we like make the students to stay in such right path, since because let's say that today is nowadays like Saman Kekinian, and they really want to figure out about pop cultures, games, and something like that. But I told them, so this is not pop culture department, so this is still English department. We focus more on the text, literary objects, and you have to focus on these ones. And what should we do, like to face yeah, this kind of questions, and how can we make the students to stay on the right path?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Ibu. Popular culture is really very captivating. Yeah, that is why they are very popular. That is why they are really turning our attention to them. Yeah, it is enjoyable to read movies than reading books, for instance. But if it is for a start, the student's choice of reading, of watching movies rather than reading books, then we cannot totally blame them. Reading is time consuming. Yeah, watching you can last in 3 hours at the most, but reading maybe it takes you away. Of course, we can't blame the students for their choice, but we have to go by the rule of the department. The rule of the department says that you have to use literary text as an object materials. Therefore, you have to tell, we have to make students should realize that we are dealing with text. You are learning language, and the proof that you have your competence is by showing how you read and how you rewrite. Remember, the first level of reading is creative reading, right? Therefore, you have to be able to prove that you are able to rewrite. And pop culture is not taught in your department. Therefore, you cannot pursue that unless you later would like to continue your study in faculty of social science or humanities, where popular culture is in the offer. Then you can later deepen your knowledge about that. But you have the basic already. And from I'm trying to understand also why students are reluctant to read a lot of books, because now we are limited by time. But once you get hooked into books, you want to read more. Therefore, Ibu Dewi, I think if you have your students would like to read books, to watch the movie, I think you need to let them watch the movie, but later on, slowly and gently guide them to read the book. Because later on, you can explain that, well, in books, you don't have to do the transcribe, yeah? You have to transcribe from movies, right? There are movie script, of course, you can download it, but in order to show that you are really proficient in your language, you have to show that your reading ability is good enough. And that is only proven when you deal with books, not with movies. And you can write about it later. And also in Sanata Dharma, many students would like to pursue pop culture, but we then direct them to our other faculty, that is faculty of that is the Department of Cultural Science. Then they can do comic books, movies, and song lyrics. Song lyrics is still acceptable, Bu Dewi. For some of our students are doing song lyrics because we treat them like poems, but they have to argue, they have to establish an argument that they are treating the song lyrics through like poetry. They have to know the basic reading of poems before dealing with the further analysis of the song lyrics. That's what we can do in our department. And yeah, I think watching movies is fun, but reading book is even much more captivating.
Hello, Professor Novi.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. So students, as you listen to Professor Novi's suggestions, yeah, it's kind of entertaining to find about popular culture. However, you belong to the English departments and we are dealing with text, with the scripts. Yeah, it's not video games. It's not something like that. You can also your lyrics, for example, the music, but as Professor Novita mentioned, you have to make strong arguments, in the beginning about why you chose to analyze the lyrics. Thank you so much, Professor Novi. Probably the others, do you have any questions? Do not hesitate to ask. You can also use Bahasa, it's okay. Oh, Stephen, you want to ask something? Yeah, we are going to make you as the spotlight, I mean.
Okay, thank you, Professor, and thank you, ma'am. Well, I want to ask a question about literary reading. So, as mentioned before, there were four kinds of literary reading, such as the informative reading, the interpretative reading, the critical reading, and the creative reading. I don't quite understand what the creative reading is. Can the creative reading be explained more? Thank you, Professor.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Stephen, for the question. Creative reading can be seen like a literary, you are criticizing the work yourself. After you read, you are able to say something about what you read. Remember what Toni Morrison is saying before? If you don't find the books that if you don't find anything in the books, you should write yourself. So creative reading is more like giving another form of the text. Yeah, you transform the text. So for instance, in creative reading, I give you a short story with a particular ending, and because you know the story very well, you would like to turn it into another form. You change the ending of the story. You add more characters, for instance, or you probably try to introduce new problem in a short story, for instance. So that is creative reading. Creative reading can only be done after you know the story so well, yeah, because you see something is missing in the story. Like for instance, yeah, in all summers in a day, for instance, you see the absence of female voice. Then you can do creative reading by introducing another character, a female character that is defending Margot, for instance. And that is your own creation, Stephen, your creation out of summer, out of all summer in a day. So that is creative reading. You create something new based on that story because you know that there is something missing. In order to know that there is something missing, you use literary theory, right? Therefore, it's after your critical reading, you criticize a text and you know something is wrong with the text, something is missing in the text. If I were to rewrite, I would write that way. And that happens also when you do post-colonial criticism. There are many rewriting, yeah, writing back to the older piece. You have a lot of story like that. For instance, Jane Eyre is rewritten into White Sargassouzi, for instance. The new novel is a type of creative reading, but the writer rewrite that well. I hope it's clearer, Stephen.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Now I get it. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so much, Stephen, for the questions. Professor Novi, actually, Stephen, he is still in his first semester, but he is really curious about anything, and I am glad he really wanted to know about the difference between creative and also informative.
Yes, yeah. I can see from that question also, yeah. How can it be reading to become creative? yeah, and I'm sure Stephen will be a good writer also. A good reader is usually a good writer, yeah. Because you are a good writer, you know something is missing in the piece that you read, then you want to rewrite yourself, usually.
Thank you so much, Professor Novi. Dear students, do you still have any questions to our keynote speaker today? Yeah, do not hesitate to raise your hand. You can ask by using English or Bahasa. It is up to you.
I think these English department students here are good in English already, yeah. Tendra, Stephen, and also the MC, Devi is also a student, right?
Yeah, she is
Very
student.
good. Yeah, you all speak English very well. Because I know people here sings very well. You are all familiar with English songs. You sing well. When my friend said, you go to Manado, everyone there sings. And they sing English songs, and I can see from the way you pronounce words, like, yeah. So please don't hesitate. You ask question.
Yeah.
I hope my explanation isn't confusing, but I have my PPT. You can have a look, yeah, later to my PPT.
So students, do you still have any questions? Since we have Professor Novi, yeah, she comes from Yogyakarta. So if you have questions, you can ask. It's okay.
If not, then I shall ask what novels are popular among all of you guys? What you have been reading?
Probably I will ask Devina and Trendra about these ones since they are considered to be senior soon. Probably Devina and Trendra, you can share what you are reading currently. What kind of novel or genre?
For me personally, in English, I'm reading a lot of John Green's book for young adults, like The Fault in Our Stars or The Turtles All the Way Down. And I'm planning to read the Paper Town. And for bahasa Indonesia, there's Laut Bercerita. I heard that's trending. I heard it's very popular. That's why I just bought it, but I haven't had the chance to read it because there's a lot of books I read way I still haven't finished.
Yeah,
So I guess
very
that's a
good. Yeah,
common problem.
yeah, very good, Vina. You read lots of new books, yeah, that I haven't read either. I think a lot of new books, what I mentioned earlier, are all classics, classic American literature. But now there are many new books, yeah. You can read all of them. I must say, it is wrong to say don't read this but read that. We are not in the habit of preventing someone to read and unread. Yeah, so I think Vina, your choice of books and also your you read in accompaniment with Indonesian novel is really very good. So that you can see the comparative analysis also, yeah, comparative reading. So all book lovers will read any book in any language. Yeah, so good. Yeah, you read English novels, you read Indonesian novels. That is really very good because you can then improve yourself. Yeah, very good. Thank you, Rina.
For me, Professor,
Yes.
for me personally, I read from Gustav Peak. It's Dover. It's tell the story in Harbor Dover in England. A young, yeah, I really like this one. And also I read Silence from Susaku Endo. It tell the story.
Lovely. Yeah.
Yeah, I like this one too. And in Indonesia, I read from Suci Betty. Apakah seperti ini cinta itu sendiri? So actually, this three book is one of my main favorite books right now. I already reread it.
Yeah. Oh, very good, very good. Are you also a writer? Are you also interested in writing? Maybe you write for your blog, something?
Yes, actually, I read some short story and something like that on my own blog in Kompasiana.
Yes, very good. I thought as much. Yeah, because you yourself as a writer, you must be a curious reader as well. Yes, and Silent is really a good book. Yeah, there is a movie about that, but the movie isn't very satisfying. Yeah, you read the book. I think if you like Susaku Endo, you can also read other books by him. Yeah, Silent is one. The Life of Jesus is also another good by Susaku Endo. Yeah, I think they are.
Yes, Professor.
Yeah, so read all the four. Yeah. What is the other one? I used to be given one, and Silent is indeed quite captivating, and well, it changed the way you see your own face. Yeah, it's good. And the English novels are always interesting, and I have to admit that English novels are usually more difficult than American novel. That is as far as my reading experience. I don't know about the new novels. You can ask Devina, yeah, about the new novels that is coming along, popular one. I think they are more intimate. They are more trendy. Yeah. But it's good. All books are good. I've never believed in not reading any book just because of the geographical boundary. Yeah. So read all books. Even the translated books are also good. So read as many as you wish. Okay. And I think I must thank Bu Dewi and also other lecturers in Unsrat here, yeah, for getting the students like reading. That is not easy. I know it's a challenge, but lecturers of these departments are quite spiritful in pushing students to read. And remember in the opening, Hassan Basri said that it is for the contribution of science and humanities. Yeah. And the fact that you have done all the 6 public lectures.
Actually, for this semester, we have 10 public lecture for the English department students only, not mentioned from another department. So this happens because of the willingness and also, let me say, the service from our Vice Dean of Academic Affairs as well, who is currently here with us, Dr. Julce. She graduated from University of Indonesia, and also, she is really eager to push us like adding your knowledge, because this is a curriculum merdeka, so we are free to listen to anyone, to listen from another keynote speaker from another university. So that's why.
Bu Julce Ratu is still here. Thank you.
I'm still listening.
So congratulations for having such good students, Ibu. Especially during this pandemic, we were so scared that we lose our students, but apparently students still come, and we thought that we will lose everything because of the pandemic, but thank God that virtual learning is still possible. And now in Unsrat, is it hybrid or all still virtual?
At the moment, it's virtual, Professor. At this moment,
really?
it's still virtual.
In Jogja, we are already hybrid. Yes.
For the first for the students in first semester, it's by online. But for the semester 3 and 3-5 and above, usually they come to campus and face-to-face.
I see. But the lecturers should come and stand by in campus.
Of course.
Dr. Julce always counts every day. Accompany us.
You should come to campus.
You become the custodians, the guardian of campus.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Professor Novi, and also Dr. Julce, and also our lovely students, Stephen, Tendra, and Devina, who already spoke up about their opinion, about their questions, and even they already shared about their interests, what kind of novels that they are currently reading. Thank you so much for your active participations. And now, this is just a small symbol of appreciations to our keynote speaker, Professor Novita. We are going to handle you at this moment electronic certificate. The operator is going to share screen the certificate, and it will be led by our Vice Dean of Academic Affairs, Dr. Julce. And also after that, we are going to listen for the thanking and closing remarks from our Secretary of Committee, Stephanie Sigarlaki, SSMHU. So the operator, would you mind to share screen the certificate, and Dr. Julcia is going to lead the ceremonial.
Yeah. Professor Novita Dewi, please accept our certificate, electronic certificate, yeah, for giving or for delivering the general lecture today. Yeah, please.
Yeah. Ibu Julcia, the pleasure is all mine. It's really, I'm so excited. I'm so honored to be given this opportunity, especially because Ibu Dewi used to be my students, the bright one, the most serious one, and now you are happy, and now we are happy to to meet again. Yeah, we are so happy to meet again. Ibu Julcia, thank you also for staying and support us. And
Yeah.
I shall congratulate that the effort of having this curriculum Merdeka materialized through a series of public lecture. It's well applauded. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. We are very happy to have you in this general lecture, Professor Novita Dewi. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Julcia, and also Professor Novita. Now we are going to listen to our Secretary of the Committee, Mrs. Stephanie Sigarlaki, SSM Hum. She's going to say our closing and thanking remarks. Hello, Ma'am Stephanie. Are you there?
My voice audible?
Yes, we can listen to you, ma'am.
Of the dean, our faculty, our dean, Dr. or who would like to be grateful for the speaker of public education, President Dewi. We are very, very grateful that we can have
Sorry, I'm going to give it back to you.
we can spend time class with the English department students as well as the lecturers, for we can learn a lot from this lesson, from the literary criticism points of view in literature, in American literature. I believe that our students learn a lot as well. They, I think they can receive the lots of the fruitful of this public lecture today, and hopefully sometime or for some other time we can meet face to face or on site on the same occasion or on the same venue or different, hopefully whether in here in our faculty or in Sanata Dharma, hopefully. So once again, thank you very much, Professor, and hopefully we can meet again.
Yeah. Thank you, Bu Stephanie. I hope that you and also Bu Julcia, yeah, and Bu Dewi, we have a reunion in Sanata Dharma one day, yeah. And also we can have some exchange, probably activities with our students. And I'm looking forward to see all of you again. Thank you so much.
Hopefully, Prof. And by the way, Mrs. Stephanie, she also once lived in Yogyakarta since she graduated from University of Gadjah Mada.
Okay. So let's have a reunion then. Yeah. Great.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Ma'am Stephanie, Professor Novita, and Dr. Julcia, and all of the students, we are really grateful and happy today to meet via this public lecture, although it's just a virtual meeting. And I'm going to give the rest to our lovely Master of Ceremony, Devina. You can handle from now on. And we will have a photo section after that. Everyone, please turn on your camera. Thank you.
All right, so thank you for everyone who's attending, and to our speaker, Professor Propaganda Novita Dewi, MS Emma Hons PhD, to our Secretary of Committee, Mrs. Stephanie Sigarlaki, and our Vice Dean of Academic Affairs, Dr. Julcia Ratu, SM MKTK. Now we're moving on to the documentation session atau foto bersama. And please for all the participants, this one turn on their camera and I will be taking the screenshots for each slide. For the first slide, 1, 2, 3. Second slide. 1, 2, 3. Third slide. Please on cam. Next slide. Six. And lastly, set the next slide. All right, this concludes the documentation session and our public lecture. Thank you to the committee and all of the participants, students, and lecturers, to our speaker, Professor Anvita Dewi, to the Secretarial Committee, and to our Vice Dean, Dr. Jul Seratu, to all who have attended and listened to our lecture today. God bless, and I hope you all have enjoyed the rest of your day.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
thank you, Mina. Thank you, thank you,
Thank you,
Miss Jen.
Professor.
Thank you so much,
Thank you,
everyone.
Stephanie.
You are able to
Thank you
leave
so
this
much,
room.
Professor.
Students.
All the best. God bless
We
you.
also have Sir Arthur. Yeah, Sir Arthur, who is currently studying for his PhD at the University of
yeah.
Indonesia.
Yeah.
But he is
Okay.
currently in Manado at the moment. He is collecting
Ah.
data. He is
Oh, I
collecting data.
see.
Yeah.
All the best then. All the best. Okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you so much,
Bye-bye.
Professor and
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you all. God bless.
For the students, in order to get your certificate, you have to click the link that the committee has provided on the chat box. Yeah, you can see it. You have to fill in, and then the electronic certificate will be sent to you directly to the email that you have filled in on the link. Yeah, so you need to provide your full name and email, yeah, and another data that has been required, yeah, via the link. So you can also find the link here. Yes, Sir Hassan. Yes, Sir Hassan already forwarded it to you. Yeah, so you can get your electronic certificate. Professor Novi, you are still here.
Yeah,
I heard
okay.
that
I
you...
will leave, yeah? I will
No,
leave.
it's okay.
Bye-bye.
I really miss the
Bye-bye.
Pia Jogja. Thank you so much and God bless
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Hassan. Thank you, Devina. Okay.
Yeah, if you want to get the certificate, you have to register to this link because this is like the end of the sections, and we need to make sure whether you attend or not by filling in the attendance link. Yeah, so both register and attendance link. All of the senior lecturers and also the guest participant who are not currently from University of Samratulangi, you can also get the certificate by filling in this link. Because this is quite important one. The certificate will be sent directly to your email. me say it to them. So, student and all of the participants, if you already fill in to the attendance link, you are able to leave this room. We are going also to end this meeting for today. Thank you so much and hope to see you in another public lecture. We still have another public lecture for this afternoon at 3 p.m. I'm going to share you the link later at 3 p.m. Grammar in context class, you are going to, you should attend this 3 p.m. public lecture since it will be quite similar to the time of your class, although it's still Tuesday, but you have to take the public lecture. I'm going to share to you another information about that. So see you later this afternoon and for another public lecture. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Makasih Dewi, atur Akang. Jadi penting nggak tutup dulu?